Stu, what's your reaction to this proposal by the Victorian government to change the Aboriginal name of this hospital?
Well, I think it sends a pretty clear message to our community, and it's a major kick in the guts, and it's actually ill thought through. It basically lacks a bit of substance and leaves a bad taste in our mouth. I just think it's completely unacceptable by the Victorian government.
Overall, what's been the response from Indigenous communities to the events of the last 10 days, culminating in the Queen's funeral yesterday?
Well, I think there's a pretty strong view within our community around what the last 10 days have looked like, and I have a personal view that well, I'd personally respect their sorry business, as I'd expect them to respect our community's sorry business. But I think, we just have to look at what the monarch represents for our community, and that's colonisation, that's oppression, and it's a reminder that First Nations people were subjugated to this great country. And so I can understand where the conversation's going in the direction of a republic. But I think it's time for us to just keep our eye on the prize, which is a First Nations voice, which there'll be a referendum, and we'll ask our fellow Australian to stand shoulder and shoulder and vote yes to address what's currently a great flaw and a great shame in this country, and that's not having a First Nations voice on First Nations issues.
When that First Nations referendum is done and completed, then how quickly after that do you think it will be time to have a referendum on the monarchy? Do you think there is momentum now for the removal of the monarchy as head of state in Australia?
Yeah, well, there's no doubt momentum now, but I think what we have to just focus on what's in front of us. And right now we've got a federal government that's committed to a referendum on a voice to Parliament, which will only make the Parliament and the government better, which is a massive issue for our country right now, that we don't have a First Nations voice on First Nations issues. And there's going to be momentum around a republic, and that's something that I think we need to hold dialogue and a conversation around post the referendum for a voice to Parliament. We can't confuse the two. We need to focus on what the ask is, and that's a yes vote to a referendum. And we also have to be conscious that as Australia as a country is the only Commonwealth country that doesn't have a treaty with its First Nations people. And I think that's a great shame.
So that's the priority. Is there also an appetite to seek reparation payments and an apology for what happened to Indigenous Australians?
Well, I think that's the beauty of if we see through a successful yes vote for a voice to Parliament, what that gives that voice the ability to do is reach into every corner of this great country to talk to our community on what the priorities need to be, what they need to look like, and how do we come together and truly reconcile what is a great country. So I think we need to think about what that success would look like if we are successful on a yes vote. But we can't lose the fact that that's a big task. We've got a big job ahead of us. And right now the ask is simple. We're asking our fellow Australians to stand shoulder and shoulder and vote yes when it comes to a First Nations voice on First Nations issues.